Am I audible now? Thank you so much, everyone. Okay. Before we proceed, my name is Niharika Valia, and I'll be taking up the area of accounting and financial management for bankers here with you. So we'll be talking about everything would be as per the new syllabus now. As you already know, there's negative marking in the examination as well. Uh, I hope I'm audible clearly. Please confirm. Okay. In case, and if I'm not audible to anyone, please re-log in. This is English medium, right? It has started from today only. Okay, so let's begin with the class. The timing is 8 p.m. everyone. The timing for our evening batch or the English medium batch for the JIIB AFM is 8 p.m. Same thing for the Hindi medium, the bilingual batch as well. I think rest I'll get you updated as early as possible. Okay. The audio problem is solved or not? Okay. I think there I can hear myself. Uh, Ma'am, I think for any issues regarding the timetable, what you can do is you can go through the pack that you have taken. There you have the entire planner with you. In that planner, you will be able to get the entire information. The timing for each and every class is given there, right? Or else, after the completion of the class, I'll show you where to go. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's begin with the accounting and financial management for bankers. As such, whosoever has attended the last, I'll show you by the end of the class. By the end of the class, I'll discuss the area where we'll be going exactly. I'll show you the planner as well. You can find all the details of the faculties that are teaching as well as the planner would be shown to you so that you know when the classes are being held. So I'll be providing you, sir. Okay, so let's begin. Okay. Uh, Before we proceed further in this particular subject, the first word is accountancy. That means we'll have to start with the area of accountancy first. We'll understand what exactly accountancy is, and then we'll move forward towards the next area, right? So, when we talk about the accountancy area, how do we deal with accountancy and what exactly is accountancy is the first question. Okay, as such, I have dealt with this area in the previous class as well, but I would want that let's start with this, that we are dealing with it again. Okay, the first thing is when we talk about the history of accounting, that is something which you can read here. In terms of the history of accounting, you'll find that when we talk about accountancy, it's not something which has just been born over just a decade or maybe a few years ago. No, this was something which was there even in the most earliest civilizations that existed, right? When we talk about the Mesopotamia, when we talk about the development of money, as soon as the economy was basically developed, there was a need in terms of ancient Egyptians or maybe Babylonians we talk about. So when these organizations, these civilizations came up, the entire need for money came up. When the entire need for money came up, they really had to do something about it, right? So then what they did was these organizations looked forward towards the accounting techniques that has been still in use today. So when we talk about by the time Roman Empire, the government had proper financial information. So the treasury was maintained, the basic details were kept. All these were being done now. That's because these organizations are these civilizations started noting down the money. This is the first class. In the last class, I just discussed the entire syllabus of this particular examination plus the basic rules. What are we going to deal with? That is it. Okay. So this is the history of accounting. So when we talk about the history of accounting, it's not something which has just developed a year ago or maybe a few years ago, right? So when we talk about the history of accounting, this is not something which has just started at the international level or in some other civilizations. This also had played a very important role in our country. So how do we talk about this? In terms of India, when we talk about accounting, it started with Chanakya. Not only with Chanakya, rather. If I really have to tell you, one of the oldest roots of accounting goes, video is not visible, ma'am. Kindly relog in. Okay. So when we talk about the entire area of accounting, long back, not only in terms of Chanakya, we will understand the entire working of accountancy. It has its roots in the Hindu, what we call the mythology there. In terms of Hindu mythology, you must have heard about Yamraj and Chitragupta. Chitragupta is the person who keeps the accounts of everybody's karmas. So when we talk about the karma there, how were they keeping that particular scenario of what kind of karma were good or bad? So when we talk about the entire area of accounting, it is said in terms of our country, it has its roots way beyond what we see today. So that starts with there. But when we talk about the formal form of accountancy that we can have a particular evidence of, it starts with Chanakya. In terms of the Mauryan Empire, he was the person who gave Kautilya's Arthashastra. Chanakya was also known as Kautilya. So he gave a particular way of running the economy and in terms of financial management as well as the economic governance. So his way of working was way too advanced in that particular period of time. So in his book of Arthashastra, he has given the entire details regarding how to maintain the books of accounts for a sovereign state. That means how a government maintains its books of accounts. So earlier the governments were there. The peasants were very too, you can say they were small people. They had very less money, right? So they never had a troubles. Only the zamindars had those munshis, if you would have heard about them. So there was an existence of accounting, but the point was it didn't get recognized over the period of time. Then what we study today, the accountancy that we are going to start with, who gave that accounting? Who was the person who gave the entire accounting that we're going to study further? See, once I start with the area of accounting, there won't be anything related to India there. I'll be telling you about the roots of Britishers. That is, will talk about the British approach. Then we'll talk about the Americans approach. Then we'll talk about what the particular person who has given this particular field of accounting. Then what was his approach? But none of them was an Indian. So before we move forward towards that, this is the first thing that we understand that yes, India has its own roots of accounting, but it's just that it wasn't really recognized. By the time this particular thing was told to the world, uh, by that time, the accounting that we're dealing with today has already taken up its recognition. With that, let's move on and understand who gave the accounting that we know today. It was given by Luca Bartolomeo Spiccioli. Luca Bartolomeo Spiccioli, this is the person, this is the information that is available regarding him. The name is Luca Piccioli or Luca Bartolomeo Spiccioli. He was basically a French, he was actually an Italian. He was an Italian. He was also known as Friar Luca. He gave what we study as accounting in 1494 AD. So in 1494 AD, he gave the accounting system that we currently study and which has been prevalent in the various countries as well, rather the entire world, right? So when we talk about accounting that we study today, it is given by him. Now, at the same time, when we talk about the accounting that he gave, his accounting was something which was more or less in his native language. So there are things in accounting where I won't be able to give a particular term that why that particular term is being used. That is something which we'll be discussing in our classes. But when we talk about the father of accounting, who gave accounting, it was Luca Bartolomeo Spiccioli, or also known as Luca Piccioli, and also known as Friar Luca, right? So how do we define the accounting that we study today? Accounting is basically it's the language of a business. If I ask your business, how much money does your business make? What will you say? You'll say, ma'am, maybe my business is earning around 10 lakhs. One business would say, my business is making around 20 lakhs. Someone would say, no, no, I'm making around 50 lakhs. So what is that? That is the language of a business. Any business will talk about their growth in terms of money, right? I cannot say that I am rich till the time I don't justify the amount I have. Will you be justified with that? Till the time you don't see the net worth that I possess, how will you call me rich? So that means, in terms of a business, you will always look forward to the monetary terms. But if we talk about money there, are we noting down the money that we are getting? Or are we noting down the money that we are paying? Right? So when we talk about all this scenario, that is called the accounting language of business. So when we talk about accounting, it's an art. Accounting is an art of recording. Number one, we record. What do we record first? Okay, it starts with, if I purchase something from you. I decided to purchase something from you. So if I'm purchasing something, what is the amount that I lost there? Now that money that I lost there should be recorded in the books of accounts, but I need to note down what exactly did I buy from you. That means it's an art of recording. We won't record randomly. We will have a specific way of recording it. For example, okay, we all have done the tables, right? So it is basically 2 multiplied by 1 is equal to 2. We never question why are we looking 2 multiplied by 1. What is the reason of using these symbols and all? In the same way, when we talk about accountancy, these symbols were formed and these symbols are basically used. So when we talk about accounting, it's an art of recording. Then we classify things. Classify means we look forward to see, if I got money from Mr. Ram and then I got Mr. Money from Mr. Rahim, then I got money from Mr. Sham. If I have got these three people into my day to day working, I need to classify whatever amount they are giving me as an individual. I need to know what amount I'm supposed to get from Mr. Ram, what amount I'm supposed to give to Mr. Sham or Mr. Reem, whatever the name of the person is. But I need to classify them separately, just not recording them, but I need to total it up. By the end of the year, I note down what are the total transactions from Mr. Ram? Okay. What are the total transactions from Mr. Sham? We need to total it up now, and then we'll move forward. Then the next point is summarize. See, the point is, by the end of the year, the manager doesn't have enough time. What will he do? He needs a summary of whatever we are dealing with, isn't it? He gets tired. He needs to know what exactly is happening with the books of accounts. So he'll say, give me a crux. You cannot give me the entire details. I cannot read it. So what will we do? We will record, but then we will classify, and then we will summarize, right? So we will summarize and in a significant manner, right? So it's in a significant manner, and that too in terms of money. It should be in terms of money. These transactions and emails. See, if I talk about money, if we cannot record anything in terms of money, then what is accountancy then? Accountancy is all about money. So anything which can be quantified in terms of money, that is taken into the era of accounting. So any transactions and events which are in part at least of financial character and interpreting the results thereof. A very sophisticated kind of, I can say it's a definition, but in a simpler words, if I tell you, if I purchase something from you, one of the basic things, I just purchased a pack of chips. So if I purchase a pack of chips, then what did I do? I paid and then I got it. So that means, in terms of payment and receipt, when we talk about the entire working, what is it? It's just a plain transaction that we are dealing with. But after that transaction, if I have a profit or a loss, that is something that we call an event. For a business, whatever they purchase or whatever they sell, there's a reason behind it. They cannot do it randomly, right? So that means, in terms of accounting, it's a recording, classifying, and summarizing, and then interpreting. But yes, after interpretation, you're going to tell it to the people that we have made money or we have lost money. That means you will have to what? You will have to communicate. Then that is the last step that is done in terms of accounting. So on the basis of this, we are going to begin the basic details of accounting there. Is there any doubt in the first, the slide that which we have just discussed, everyone? Network problem? Anybody else faced a network trouble, or audio or video issues? Okay, the audio as well as video is clear. Uh, then Ganeshan sir, please re-log in. I think that can be trouble there. Preeti ma'am, you have raised your hand. Is there anything that you would like to ask? Okay, so with this particular slide, okay, thank you ma'am. Now let's move on to what I just said. Okay, for example, let's take it from the point of view of accounting first. I am someone who purchases goods and then I sell it, right? There's a purchase of goods, then I sell it. Now, when we purchase goods, it's called identification of a business transaction. You asked me that did you had any transaction today? I said yes, I purchased goods worth rupees 1 lakh today. So that means it's an identification of the business transaction. Once I purchased those goods, then what happened? We measured in terms of money. So when we talk about money, what happens is whether you can look at that particular transaction which belongs to the business in terms of money or not. I said yes, I bought goods worth rupees 1 lakh. Then they said recorded. So the next point that we did was we recorded the transaction. As soon as we recorded that transaction, the next move was to classify in the form of ledgers. So what we did was, see, whatever was basically recording, right? I recorded 1 lakh rupees, but by the end of the year, if you talk about, I made millions of purchases during that particular year. That means my business is really huge. So what happened was I got a purchase worth rupees 1 lakh, then it was something which was related to 10 lakh rupees and 25 lakh. There were multiple lots of purchases which I made, which was all about recording those transactions. But by the end of the day, what happened was by the end of the year, my manager came to me and said, Niharika, what was the total amount of purchases that we have made? That's correct. When we talk about what is the total amount that we look forward to, I'll just talk about ledger only. That is what we're moving on to, sir. Now, the point was as soon as I came to know what the purchases are, what the sales are, what is the next point that we'll look forward to? The next point is I'll ask you, you'll ask me directly that being a manager, I cannot read through the entire transactions. So kindly go ahead and classify things. So what I did was I made a table where I noted down all the purchases in terms of their digits. Then I made a table which was only of sales. I got all the sales into this. So by the end of the year, what happened was I totaled the sale, I totaled the purchases, and what will I try to find from there? What will I get from the difference between the sales and purchases, everyone? If I subtract the sales and purchases, what will I get? Correct. And that's a optimistic thought of process, that is profit. But sometimes organizations also make losses. But to make these particular transactions, in order to understand this decision, we need to make these tables. So the tabular form that we prepare, that is something which is called ledger. So if you're noting it down for the first time, if you haven't reviewed what exactly accounting is about, then kindly note down these small terminologies. It's always better to make your own notes because till now even I prepare my notes as and when it is actually required. So feel free to note down all those important points. Otherwise, by the end of the class when the video is available to you, then you can also review the PDF of the same and do the noting down after the class. That is as per your comfort. After the recording is available now, then you can review the notes there. That would be visible to you, right? Okay. Now The point is, when you talk about ledgers, it's the tabular form. So you can note it down. Ledgers are the tabular form of, it's a tabular form of transactions, right? It's a tabular form of transactions. Now, once you have made the tabular form, then you'll have to summarize. You didn't end up with the purchase and the sales, right? We totaled it up. We what we did was we found the total of purchases as well as the sales. Then we made a summary of it, and then we analyzed the transaction. By analyzing, we mean we looked forward to those transactions. What exactly are we dealing with in terms of these transactions? What is the particular transaction? Then whether the organization is going good or bad, we can understand that, and then we'll interpret, are we showing a growth over the period of time, or the growth is being hampered for some reason. And by the end of the year, what will happen is the government will come up and ask me that what is the profit that you have made, are you showing us any information of the same or not. So this is communication to the users, right? So the users will ask us what is the profit that organization is making, what is the amount of loss that they are facing. So this is what they define as the accounting cycle. This is what we'll be covering in the entire this module A, where we'll be talking about accounting cycle, and the further details of what exactly accounting is. But the point is, to understand accounting cycle, we need to understand the various accounting terminologies. So the first class is all about understanding those basic terminologies of accounting, right? So let's move on. Okay, so the first thing is events. We studied about recording the events in the first definition that we talked about, isn't it? So what do you mean by an event? Event is basically, okay, first thing is transaction. The first thing that happens in an organization is a transaction, a monetary transaction which is occurring. That means a purchase or sale, money intake, or going out of the money from our pockets, right? That's a transaction. But because of that transaction, are we facing any losses? Are we getting any profits? Now that is the next level thing which the organization would look forward to. So what do you mean by an event? Event is basically a result of the transaction. It's a result. An economic event is known as the happening of the consequence. Consequence means the result to which the business organization, which consists of a transaction and is measurable in terms of money. So first is you need to review a transaction in terms of money, and then what you call is the result. That means if I said I made a profit, just like we talked about, the transaction was purchases. If we talk about purchases, it was a transaction. If we talk about sales, it was a transaction. But what was profit then? The profit was an event. Earning a profit or facing a loss is an event. That is called an economic event, right? Now, next point that occurs is, with understanding what economic event is, let's talk about the next point that are coming up, that is transaction. When we talk about the transaction is what? Transaction is basically anything in terms of money which relates to a business. That's it. An event involving some value between two or more entities. It can be purchase, it can be receipt, it can be a payment to the creditor. We are paying to these people. We'll talk about creditor in the upcoming slides as well. So we'll talk about that. See, what happened was na, when, see, Luca Bartolomeo Spiccioli was basically an Italian. So earlier, have you said about the concept of LHS is equal to RHS? Said about the concept of LHS is equal to RHS, where we talked about the left hand side is equal to the right hand side. He gave this concept again, since he used the language which was different from ours. The term that he used was debit is equal to credit. These two terms are being used by him, and this is what we'll study in accountancy constantly. The accountancy can never be studied without these two terms, debit and credit. So when we talk about the debit and credit, what were these? Some people say that he used the terms debito and credito. English took it as debit and credit, and some people call it deber and credre, was the initial words which has been taken as there. They just like LHS and RHS, they use the term called DR is equal to CR. So that's why people used to say that here we understand CR. Why not DE? Why DR? So there's a saying that when Luca Bartolomus Piccioli made these two terms, it might be deber and credere. That's why it is equal to DR is equal to CR. Now, what's the significance of this debit and credit there? See, I had my money. I was having 100 rupees in my pocket. But then I needed a little more. So what I asked was, just let's talk about the basic transaction now. Let's talk about, I asked my mother that, that I need money. So then she said, okay, how much money do you need? I said, I just, maybe 50 rupees more. So I already have 100 rupees in my pocket, and then I'm adding 50 more. Now my pocket has 150 rupees. How much money can I spend now? My source of money is already determined. That is 150, and that is my limit of application as well. Isn't it? That's correct, ma'am. So when we talk about the debit is equal to credit, it's like wherever the money comes from, you can apply it only in a certain area. Now we'll get the clarity of all these concepts in the upcoming classes, but that's the gist of the term debit is equal to credit. So this is how we look forward to these terms. That is why they are using the term credit transactions or debit transactions. That is a part of the bank. The banks are also using the term debit and credit rather, right? So when we talk about the credit transactions, these are non-cash transactions as well, right? So anybody to whom you are supposed to pay, you haven't paid, but you are supposed to pay, is called the creditor. Right there, the next point that we are going to discuss is called an asset. What do you mean by an asset? See, I decided to open to have my own business. My business was to I manufacture mattresses. So I provide mattresses which are clinically helpful for the back of the people. So then again, something that is basically gaining a good amount of popularity over the bit of time. But to make that mattress, I need a building. Right. It is basically, I need a building, I need a place where I can put up my machineries and then start my production. And then I need an office area where I can meet the clients and sell those goods to the people ultimately. So that means the thing which is not being sold itself, it helps me to generate money. That means it helps the organization to earn. It is not the main source. It helps to earn. So assets are the items which value used by the business in its operations. So that means anything which is used by the business to earn money. For example, I have an AC. I need my AC. Why do I need an AC? Otherwise, how will I ask people to sit in my area? Because during the summers it would be very hot. So I need an AC. Then I need a place where I can make people sit. That is, I need furniture, isn't it? Then the next point that I need is I need furniture. Then I need laptops. I need the PCs. I need fans. I need the furniture and fixtures. That means I need a particular rack where I can keep all these things. So anything which helps to generate money for the business, that is something that is called an asset. So assets are economic resources of the enterprise that are usefully expressed in terms of modern money. So if you ask me that, ma'am, what is your car name? I'll just specify my car is basically, say, Suzuki Desire. So when we talk about Suzuki, I just got a Desire. That is not something accounting is looking for. To accounting will ask, what's the amount there? If I specify that this particular car is being used by my business to generate money, then you will say that, ma'am, we need to understand what was the amount. So I'll ask you that what should be the amount there. So the amount that I am paying to get that particular asset, that's the monetary value of that asset. Correct. It's basically a money generating things. It helps to grow the business, right? So when we talk about the assets in terms of the classification, assets can be divided into these three units. First is as per convertibility. See, if I have an asset and I can get that particular asset turned into realizing of the money in within a year, it's called a current asset. Okay. For that, if I ask you, I have bank balance. In how much time can I convert it into money? And in how much time I can take out the money and use it anywhere from a bank? Due to the IMPS, while sitting and talking to you, I can transfer and receive more than a lakh within a day. How? That is a current asset. Anything which changes in a period of less than an year, that is called a current asset. It is current now. It can be cash balance, it can be the bank balance, right? And any securities which I thought I'll just hold it for 3 months now. Let's not hold it for more than 3 months. For example, I got an RD of 3 months or 6 months or whatever the time period is. Since it's less than 1 year, it can be a part of the current assets. But there are certain assets which they call non-current assets. What are those? The assets which we have, but for a period of more than a year. For example, furniture. I got a car, right? If I get a desire there, I get a desire, and if I have paid maybe around 8 lakhs for the same, so that is basically a non current asset. Will I sell it the next day? Will I sell it in the upcoming year? Probably not, right? That is what we talk about. There is a non current asset. This is the English medium batch, sir. So that is what we define as non current asset. Any asset which basically helps to grow over a period of more than a year. That is non-current assets. Next is the assets which have a physical existence. See, while teaching, I can touch the laptop, but can I touch the patent the organization would have got? Can I touch the copyright which they have already got? Right? So when we talk about the as per the physical existence, it can be of the following types. One, if you can touch that particular asset, it's called tangible assets. And the things which we cannot touch, but yes, they are assets, are called intangible assets. For example, I am Coke. I got my formula patented. Just because I have got that formula patented, now nobody can use the same flavor that I'm using in Coke. So that means I have got my own popularity. If people really like the particular flavor, then no other flavor can intimate him, right? In terms of they cannot imitate them, right? That means in terms of imitation, it's not possible because it's not allowed. So those kind of things are okay. Patent is an asset. For example, okay. I I got a particular cream. That cream was really good. I'd been using it for quite a long time, and then they got itself patented. That means if anybody is trying to use that unique formula that I've used for the cream, the ingredients, then that is not allowed because that particular person actually paid and got it patented on themselves. So what will happen is that if I want to use the things that they possess, that particular formula, then I will pay them and use it accordingly. That is how we define patent. Thinks about the various rights. Mining rights. If I've got the mining right, then I have paid money and I've got that right. I can use that right as and when I want. That is an intangible asset. Right? Now that is something that we define as the intangible assets. Anything that can be touched. Our phones can be touched, our fans can be touched, our furniture can be touched. Everything that you can touch and it can help your business to grow is called a tangible asset. Okay, as per the usage, okay, let's talk about this. Banks, if the bank goes and specifically buys a real estate and they don't want to use that real estate in the business. Yes, Ashok sir, that's also true. You can reclassify and say tangible assets can also have current and non-current assets. For example, cash is a tangible asset. Bank balance is also a tangible asset, right? We can get that particular checkbook and we can find it out. What is an intangible asset? The goodwill, patents, trademarks, copyrights, IPR. What are those? Those are intangible. They don't even exist somewhere exactly, but we have that in documentation that there is an existence. The difference now, that is tangible and intangible. Among these, we can have current as well as non-current. Furniture is a non-current asset. It satisfies both the areas of non-current as well as tangible assets, right? That means this definition covers a good amount of area. Copyright and patent, okay. I wrote a book, and that book was something which, if anybody wants to copy or wants to create any copy of it, they have to first of all pay me. That's copyright. In terms of patent, is basically a formula or a particular technique or whatever the case may be. I can get it patented, and if anybody wants to use it, they will have to seek my permission, pay me first, and then they can copy it. That's why when we talk about, you must have seen there were many copyright based issues in terms of the YouTube, because people started working on all these things, right? People were involved in content creation and everything, then they had to acknowledge that this was the particular person who had given that particular song. That is copyright. These are both intangible assets. You cannot touch these rights or you cannot touch them, but there is an existence, isn't it? That's intangible assets. And then we have as per usage. Then what's the difference between the assets as per usage? First is operating assets, the assets which are operating for the business. But there are certain assets which are not kept for the business. For example, businessman might have invested in some other company's shares because he thought that particular company would grow in future. So what did he do? The assets which he was using for the business, for example, his machinery, right? Then his machinery, his car, and various other things which are directly used in the business, they are called operating. And the ones where they are just generating money, they thought that let's increase our incomes there. So they went up to the area of non-operating assets. The assets which are non-operating means, for example, if I have a business, my business was of mattress making, and I got a particular share of a particular company. I'm not someone who deals with shares. I just got it for the purpose that I'll keep it for a while and then I'll sell it. That's a non-operating asset, right? That means it does not relate to your business directly. It's just something that you chose, that is something that particular thing is not being used for the business, maybe bought by business's money, but not used for the business. That is how we define the area of assets. Got it, everyone? Is there any doubt in this area? Okay. Now, let's move on and talk about the next topic. The next topic is, if we have assets, do you know we face liabilities as well? Yes, definitely. Non-operating can see non-operating assets means, okay, my business was of making mattresses, right? I was making mattresses, and then I thought there is a particular plot which really looks good, and probably the rental value of that particular property will also go high. So what I did was, the excess money which my business had, that was mattress making, they could have got their own plant and machinery, but no, they decided to this spend this money into the area of shares of some big company. So from those shares, they are constantly earning dividends. So what is it? That's a non-operating business, non-operating income, or we earn that non-operating income. If I'm earning dividends, that's because this asset, the amount where it is actually placed, is not something which is used for the business. Na? That is non-operating asset. Operating assets can be said that plant and machinery is an operating asset, right? That is how we define an asset. That means an asset which is used for the production, which is used directly in the business. They are called operating assets. But now, from the assets, let's talk about the next point. If I use my own money to give something to my business, that's called a capital. That's my own money invested in the business. But then what are liabilities then? When we talk about the liabilities, in terms of liabilities, this says that whenever you do not have enough money and you have to buy a specific thing, what do you do then? You borrow it from others, right? So we borrowed from others, and that particular borrowing from others is called liabilities. And always remember, liabilities are like burden on heads, right? So that's why they are shown, they have chosen their area, that is their creditor. Okay. Then we talk about liabilities. Liabilities are always on the credit side. The credit side took away and said that I would like to choose the liabilities. So liabilities are what? These are obligations or debts that can enterprise has to pay with some time in the future. But then when we talk about the liabilities, liabilities are certain things which would have happened and they could have caused any damage or something. So it's always better that they say that we need to pay money to someone now. It's a burden on my head. Then that burden is called a liability. For example, if I take a bank loan, that bank loan is a liability that I am having, and then I'll have to get rid of it as early as possible. So that's how we define the term liabilities. They represent creditors' claims on the firm's assets, right? That means both small and big companies, they have liabilities. See, if the organization is big enough, then they'll put more of their capital. But if they do not have money, then what will they do? I just said that I want a particular laptop worth rupees 1 lakh. I got 60,000. I got it for 60. But then remaining 40, then I'm looking at some people who can give me a loan. That is what we'll define as liability. Not the amount that I am spending in that business. No. If I have asked someone else the same money, that is something we cover in that area of liabilities. Yes, they are also called borrowings. Just like assets, liabilities are also of the following types. When we talk about the liabilities, it is current liabilities. What do you mean by current liabilities, everyone? We have just talked about the current assets. So how do we define the area of current liabilities? Correct. Any liability which is supposed to be paid off. We are supposed to pay within a period of 1 year. If I got a loan from you, I am supposed to pay within a period of 1 year back to you. Then the next point is that is non-current liabilities. That means the bank loans that we take, for example, housing loan. Housing loan is normally of what particular period of time? Housing loan, business loan. What is the time tenure normally for a housing loan? That's correct. Festival advances, if they are given to the people, then that is something that we can look forward to as the current assets for the company. It can also be treated as an expense depending upon the scenario. If I'm paying to you and it was due that you were supposed to be paid for the festival, that is an expense. If I paid you in advance, that's an asset. That I am done with the payment. Now she doesn't have to ask me, or anybody else doesn't have to ask me, or Mr. Ram doesn't have to ask me. Now I have paid him the money or I have paid her the money. Now they cannot raise a question against me. That is how we define the area of the current assets there. And when we talk about, oh, I'm supposed to pay to my people, that means salary outstanding. I couldn't pay my people, right? So any festival advances which are not paid yet, they are called liabilities. For example, outstanding loans. For example, outstanding rent, right? Outstanding interest that is due but definitely not paid yet. That is how we define the area of non-current liabilities. And yes, I'm getting the answers. 30 years, it's from 15 to 12, 30 years. I've seen people having it for maybe 10 years to 30 years. It keeps on varying now. So everybody has got it. That means it is for more than 1 year. It's a non-current liability. But with these two liabilities, there's one more liability that is written on the corner, which is called contingent. Maybe things would happen, maybe things won't happen. Now, there is no clarity. Now, when there is no clarity, with the uncertain transactions, they call it contingent liabilities. The liabilities which the organization might have to pay in future, but not yet now. That is, okay. Excuse me. Now, what happened is, if right, I sued one of my clients that he hasn't paid us back. That means now that I've sued that particular person, I might receive money. That is called a contingent asset. Now, if somebody has sued me for the same, that you were supposed to pay and I didn't pay, that is a contingent liability. Right? Here, it can be contingent asset when I may or may not win that particular case, but I feel that I might win the case. That chances of winning the case is called a contingent asset. But losing of a case, that might be a good amount of chunk of money that I might have to get rid of, that's a contingent liability, right? So there are three kinds of liabilities: current, non-current, as well as contingent liabilities. Now, what do you mean by the term capital then? Yes, the legal litigations, the legal cases that are filed. You don't know, na? For example, if we talk about, I filed a case against Pepsi, that there was some issue with that. They can, yes, there can be a contingent asset as well. See, if you have sued someone and now you are waiting that maybe I might win, that's a contingent asset for you. But if that particular person hasn't sued, you sued them that if I win, I'll get 1 lakh rupees. That is a contingent asset for me. But it's like, if that particular person has sued me and I fail on that point, then I might have to pay in future. Today, it's a liability. That's correct. It's a contingent liability, sir. Very good. That is, guarantee, warranty are also contingent liabilities. We do not know whether the other person will actually use that guarantee or warranty or not. True. That's one of the rules. One particular person's expense becomes one particular person's income. One particular, if I have paid you money, I'll be telling people, do you know, I have given money. That is my asset. That I will receive back the money. For you, it might be like a burden that I am supposed to pay, I'm supposed to pay. So for me, it is an asset. For you, it's a liability. Now, moving on with that, then what is capital? The amount which the proprietor invests in the business is called capital, right? So when we talk about the term capital, the capital amount invested by the owner in the firm is known as capital. Whatever hard-earned money he started with the business, right? That's correct, sir. It can be owner's funds. The other names, can you please note it down? The other names for equity or the capitals is, or the other name for capital, that is the amount invested by the owner, is called owner's funds and proprietors funds. And the third point is equity. And somehow now they don't write equity. What they do is sometimes they call it owner's equity. Equity, and second one is the outsider's equity. If you, being the bank of an organization, you gave me a loan, then that is basically outsider's equity for me. I'll specify that this is your money, but wherever I have put my own money, that is a capital point, right? That means whatever money I put into my business to keep it running, that is how we define as capital. Yes, equity and capital are the same. We'll be talking about the further details in, no, that is equity shares. Accountancy, we interchangeably use the term equity for the capital as well. Okay, now let's move on. What do you mean by sales then? If all these things are done, one of the revenue generating areas is sales. Uh, if I purchase cosmetics. Now that is something which I've decided I'll open a particular business which would be of cosmetics. Now that is my sale, right? So what do I sell in terms of this? If I am thinking to sell cosmetics, that means I would have started with my business there. The revenue that I earn is called sales. So sales can be both cash as well as credit. If I paid you right away, then you will call it a cash sale, right? If I give you the money, you'll call it a cash sale. Now that I haven't paid the money yet, it would be a credit sale. You'll have to wrote down my name, that who's that particular person to whom I'd given money at that point of time. That is called a credit sale, right? Now comes the next point, everyone. If this is sales, then what is revenue? See, sales is basically whatever goods we produce, but revenue can be both business and non-business as well. No? If I sell goods and then I earn money, you'll call it sales revenue. But sometimes I might earn incomes in terms of commission, in terms of interest, in terms of dividend. Now that revenue that you are earning is called income, right? So when we talk about sales, it is just the goods that we purchase and then sold. I think I'll just give you the information regarding the support team so you can have a word with them and get this particular problem solved. Okay. In terms of any problem with your batches, all you can do is you can click on the area of support.adda247.com. It is support.adda247.com. Right? Okay. Now, when we talk about sales, it is only the goods that I'm selling. If I got revenues, that might be because I'm good in my finances. I kept the money in shares, I kept the money in banks. That is where I earn the interest. That is called revenue, right? So there are two things that we need to understand. One is the revenue from operations. That means whatever business I do, that is something that we earn. So revenue is basically income, but that is in terms of, it is a broader term which can be both operating as well as non-operating. That's correct. That's a very beautiful definition, sir. That's very different, beautiful definition, ma'am. I hope I'm right. That is, sales means exchange of goods for money. What I did was I gave you my good and I got money. In terms of revenue, it can be like I went to the bank, I got interest. That is what revenue is about. But sales is all about losing that particular good for money, right? These are very small differences, which helps us to understand the entire area of accounting. The chances of errors goes down the drain if you know about these minute differences. So, okay, before I move forward, is everything that we did today clear to you, everyone? Was there anything which you found that is not clear to you? Is there a difference between income and revenue? No, exactly. That term is used interchangeably. It's used interchangeably. But if you ask me that the receipt or revenue is the same, I will say no. Receipt is the money that I get directly. That's receipt, right? Whatever I receive. When we talk about revenue, it's a broader term there. It's the entire sales. It can be cash as well as credit. If I sell the goods and right now, or maybe I might be paying you later on, but then you have to record it now. That is what you will find in the term of revenue or income. Yep. So when we talk about the term expense, see, I got this particular pen so that I can teach. So this particular pen has been in use for more than a year now. Is it a fixed asset or a non-current asset? There can be two things, the current and non-current assets. So is this a current asset or a non-current asset? The pen that I use for my equipments there. What will you call it? It's a fixed asset and add that to a tangible asset, right? An asset which is used for more than a year. But now let's talk about the Wi-Fi that I've just kept so that I can stay connected with you. I got a Wi-Fi. Now that Wi-Fi is what? I pay for that Wi-Fi every single day, right? I pay the entire amount by the end of the month. That means I'm paying for that particular month. Is it an expense or an asset? The Wi-Fi that I'm using is basically an asset if it's mine. But the service of Wi-Fi, when we talk about it, it's called an expense because to earn money, I first of all have to shell out money. That means money is basically money magnet. If you have money, you can arrange more money very easily. You can start up various areas. That is how we define the term as money magnets money. So that means it attracts money there further. So when we talk about, see, if I have paid my phone bill in advance, that is what? It's a current asset. Now I have paid the bill. Whatever happens, now the organization that which I've taken the particular SIM of, they cannot ask me that no, no, we are closing your number. I'll say, why are you closing my number? Because I've already paid, the recharge is already done. Now that is something a current asset. I have just done that work maybe for 2 3 months. It would be cool, and then it won't be there now. That means it is a current asset. So when I am supposed to pay you in future, it's a current liability. But if I pay for something which helps my business to grow every single day, be it basic refreshments, be it the electricity bill, be it the water bill or the office rent, whatever the scenario is, then that is what we call as an expense. Anything which helps to keep the business running, that's called an expense. A cost which is incurred by the business in the process of earning revenue are known as expenses. Okay, before we end the particular class, is expenditure and expense two different words or they are same? Now that's the particular suspense that I'm leaving you with. In the next class, I'll talk about the expense and expenditure as well. But before we end this particular session, um, is there any doubt that you would like to ask about the entire topic that we are done with today? Ashok sir, okay. I sued Coke. There was a particular, there were certain cases, let's talk about that. There was a particular uh, pack of Coke there where the particular person actually found a lizard in that particular Coke bottle. What he did was he went to Coke and maybe he sued them. This was a real case. They went to the Coke, but I don't remember the amount, so I cannot say that amount. Maybe that particular Mr. R would have he would have bought a bottle of Coke, but it has a lizard in it. So what happened was then he went to Coke and said, "This is what you have done. What are your services? I would like to sue you for 1 crore rupees." Now, is Coke giving them 1 crore rupees right away? Or there is an uncertainty? If Mr. R will win the case, only then Coke will pay. Na? Govardhan sir, they would be up to date. I think within a little time, we will look forward to that. The ebooks which are maybe the older, they will be replaced with the new ones. So that is the point. We are not certain whether we'll get the money or not. If we do not know whether we'll get the money or not, that is how we define as the contingent liabilities. So if you can win the case, it is a contingent asset to you. If you might lose the case, it's a contingent liability for you. So there is no problem in terms of preparing, even if you do not have a commerce background. The class that I'm taking up, this here I am starting from the scratch in terms of accountancy. First of all, I'll be covering the entire dictionary of the various words that we'll be dealing with that can affect our business. It is basically anything which would have happened in the past, but the future is uncertain regarding the same. There was a particular transaction. I bought that Coke, and there was some issue with the Coke. Now that means now I'll have to wait. Either I win the case or I lose the case. That is something which will determine. That means anything which has an element of uncertainty, that is contingent in nature. Okay. Yes, now that's a very beautiful example, I can say, in terms of passing and failing in terms of the JIB examination. That is how we can call it a contingent transaction, right? We may or may not, but let's talk about that in a positive way. It's all about how much efforts are we putting in. I have literally seen many bankers putting their best foot forward, and then when they come out with good marks, they're happy about it. So I think everything has a cost. Some things, something might cost only in terms of money. Something can be required in terms of time as well. So for you as a banker, it's both. You are paying as well as you are taking out time. Just make the best use of it. That's what I can say. Okay. So before we move forward, let me just show you where you will find the entire details. So sorry regarding that. I think what I can say is keep on working hard. If it was about 1 mark, then bang on, come up with really great marks in this particular attempt, because that means you are going good. Maybe you are just near the finishing line, right? Okay. So Let me show you our website where you will find all the details regarding the JIIB examinations, so that there won't be an issue, right? Okay. Yes, there is a negative marking. See, regarding negative marking, I'll always suggest you. I've given many examinations in terms of different professional examinations. There, we always had negative marking. You might have given the bank PO examinations. There, you had negative marking as well. Whenever you got recruited in this organization, you also face that era. That means negative marking can kill you psychologically if you are stuck on that point. All you need to do is you need to choose your niche. That's what I strongly believe in. As soon as you see the paper, first of all, the exam has to be done in this way. That depends upon you how do you do it, but my way has always been like, first of all, first round, go through the entire paper, see what questions I'm sure about. First of all, finish them up. These are the ones which I'm done with. That means I know the answers, number one. Then go to the round two, whatever the questions are left. Then look at the questions, then assess yourself how much chance are there, how much of the chances there that your answer is correct or wrong. That is what you need to do in the second round. Then by the third round, you are done with it. I cannot do it anymore, this is my correct answer, I'm not taking up this question, I'm taking up this question. That is your decision making, nothing else. In the examination at that point of time, it's all about your decision making. Okay. How do we go to our website and find the details of the JIB examination? Let's look forward to that. Okay, so first of all, you will have to go towards this area. Yes, I'll show you the entire area, ma'am. Okay, that is our website www.adda247, or you can use our app there. Here you will find all the details of the JIB and CIB examination, right? So whatever pack you have taken, you can review that particular timing and planner here only. And those who are looking forward towards our batches have officially started. So you can review the bilingual as well as the English batch here. And here, what you need to do is, for example, this is the JIB batch. Our batch is here. The timing for all the classes is specified here. RBWM 19th, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. AFM 8 to 9. Then IE and IFS in the morning at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then PPB is at 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Details regarding the examination is given here, and there you have the planner as well, how the classes are going to go. It is there on this area, in this area. And then the classes, the details are all given. Now this is the details regarding the English medium. You can find all the details of the examination, plus you will get 145 hours of online classes. You have 73 test series along with 67 ebooks. And anybody having any query regarding the ebooks are there. Ebooks is definitely there. You will find the details of the ebooks in that area, and at the same time, in a very less time, you will get all the details regarding the examination as well. The new syllabus will be out at the same time, so whatever that particular thing is, we will provide you the ebooks as per the new syllabus as well. We have already started updating. There are many books that you will find. The books that you will find here is updated, and we'll add more as per the examination, right? That is all that you can find there. And if you haven't purchased our paid courses yet, all you can do is you can click on the area of buy now, and you can use the code Y541 and apply it, and you will get a discount of 77%, and you can buy it for 4599.77, and the validity there is for 8 months. Rest, before I conclude the class, is there any doubt? Now, anybody who's looking forward towards, ma'am, definitely. I won't say that you shouldn't do that. If that gives you a greater confidence, then go ahead. Feel free to do that. But make sure that you are sticking to the syllabus. I think, Yamuna ma'am, after the completion of the class, I think maybe within around 12 hours, you will be able to see the recording. Between 12 to 24 hours, varying upon the time period, this particular recording of this class would be available to you. So there you can find the details. Right? Okay, everyone, I'll be meeting you in the next class from 8 to 9 in the evening every day, from Monday to Saturday. Yes, sir. it is available. The ebooks would be included. If you have taken the JIB Mahapack, then both ebooks as well as the test series is included. Rather, in terms of this pack, you will not only get both the areas of English medium and bilingual batch, you will also get the revision batches coming up, the case study batches, every batch that would be there after this particular batch that is also opened up for you. And that's the plus point of the Mahapack. So in case you have any problems, you can contact the support.adda247.com. They will help you in terms of any query that you might be having, right? Okay. That's it for the day. We'll be meeting tomorrow at 8 p.m. Thank you, everyone.